Good evening and welcome to the September 8th, 2025 City Council Roundtable meeting. Whoops. There you go. I am Mayor Ross and tonight's meeting is brought to you live using video conferencing technology provided by Zoom. Tonight's recording will be posted on the city's YouTube channel. City Clerk Dean, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Benson,
Yeah. Oh, here.
Councilmember Watton,
Here.
Councilmember Holloway,
Here.
Councilmember Christensen. Here. Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Mayor Ross.
I'm here. Councilmember Washington has requested to be excused from tonight's roundtable meeting. Is there a motion to excuse Councilmember Washington?
So move.
Second. Moved by Councilmember Johnson, second by Councilmember Christensen. Councilmember Cotton is supposed to be joining us. She on yet?
She's not here, but.
I'll just go ahead and move to,
She's probably already in.
I'll go ahead and move to excuse until they arrive.
Second. Okay, it's moved by Councilmember Johnson, second by Councilmember Christensen. All in favor to excuse Councilmember Washington and Cotton?
Do we usually do those together? Is that, because what if I want to excuse Lewis, but I don't want to excuse Kat?
Technically, it's
You have to make a motion.
You can make a motion to separate.
All right, I was just curious.
So this is part of your discussion?
Question.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And motion passes and Councilmember Washington and Cotton are excused.
What Cotton got lucky.
We now move to our first item of business, which is to approve the agenda. Council may have a motion to approve the roundtable agenda, which is an executive session.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Watton, second by Councilmember Christensen. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. The motion passes unanimous. Oh, actually, all those approved, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And the motion passed unanimously. So tonight we have executive session pursuant to RCW 42.30.1101I to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency matters relating to potential litigation, lasting approximately 45 minutes. Those attending will be City Attorney Dina Burke, Finance Director Drew Boutte, Interim Chief Racy, and outside counsel Jeremy Roller. And we will be meeting in the Mount Si conference room. So we will pause the recording and we will come back at around 6:45. And at that point, then we will move to adjourn. So please pause the recording and we will go to our executive session. Thank you. Okay, it's now 6:55 and we return from our executive session. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Holloway, second by Councilmember Christensen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And we are adjourned. Council, this brings us to our regular meeting of the City Council. The time is now 7 p.m. Let the record show that all council is present except for Councilmember Washington, who has been excused. Council, please stand with us to join in the Pledge of Allegiance. And Councilmember Christensen, please lead the pledge.
I pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we move to our first item of regular business is to approve the agenda. Council may have a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Second.
We move by Mayor Pro Tem Holloway, second by Councilor Christensen. Is there any discussion? I believe our presentation this evening is canceled by Snoqualmie Valley Mobility Coalition. So we need to remove that from the agenda.
I will,
Mayor Pro Tem Holloway?
I don't know, other than on the report section, I would like to talk about potential liaison positions under 13.
Okay. Liaison positions. Okay. So removing the presentation and adding potential liaison positions. Is there a motion for both those items? Any motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Second, so moved by Mayor Pro Tem Holloway and second by Councilor Christensen. Any further discussion? Oh, Cotton, sorry. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And those motions pass. I'm going back to the original, to the agenda with the additions. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? And the agenda is approved as amended. Great. So moving on, we do have a proclamation, which is Week Without Driving. And September 29th through October 5th, 2025 is recognized as a week without driving, where we encourage residents to utilize alternative transportation options such as transit, light rail, biking, and walking pathways. So whereas access to mobility is a fundamental part of health, safety, and community connection, allowing Snoqualmie Valley residents to reach education and employment opportunities, medical services, shopping, recreation, and visit friends and family, and is one of the state's 6 transportation system policy goals, including investing public dollars to improve the movement of people throughout King County. And the average cost of owning a car was more than $12,000 per year in 2024. Many people cannot afford the cost of a car, and nearly a third of the people residing in the United States do not have a driver's license. Whereas public transportation and strong network of sidewalks and bike paths aren't available in every community, and whereas improvements in walking and bike paths can improve alternate forms of mobility in communities across King County, and whereas transportation represents the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions. So whereas I, Catherine Ross, Mayor of Snoqualmie, do hereby proclaim September 29th to October 5th, a week without driving. So hopefully you'll try that. So, and you can read the full proclamation online. Thank you. At this time, we'll provide time for residents to comment on items not on the agenda. So no online public comments will be accepted during the meeting. Written comments are encouraged and may be submitted in person, mail, or email. Excuse me, I think I lose my voice. So is there anyone that wishes to do public comment this evening that are items that are not on the agenda? So please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, we will close public comment and move on to consent agenda. So consent agenda contains approval of the city council meeting minutes dated August 11th, 2025 and August 15th, 2025. Approve the claims report dated September 8th, 2025 and AB 25-076, Washington Traffic Safety Commission Interagency Agreement. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Excuse me. So moved by Councilor Watton, and approved, and second by Mayor Pro Tem Holloway, sorry. Is there any public comment regarding any of those items? Seeing none. Is there any discussion? Okay, moving to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And the motion passes. The consent agenda is approved. Is there any report for Public Safety Committee?
The only thing I will offer up, Mayor, is that we've been getting a lot of feedback from residents about speed, in addition to other things like e-bikes, and it is top of mind for both the committee and for the police department. So continue to send that feedback in if you're a resident and listening in.
Thank you. The first committee report for community development is AB 25-083, Affordable Workforce Housing Development RFQ. Councilor Johnson.
The
Mhm.
city received two RFQ submittals in January, which were determined to be inconclusive as additional steps are needed to support affordable workforce housing in the city. Staff proposed the CD committee reevaluate the affordable and workforce housing development process to determine next steps. And the proposed motion is move to rescind the RFQ and reevaluate the affordable housing process.
Second?
Been moved by Counselor Johnson and second by Counselor Watton. Is there any public comment regarding this item? Seeing none. Any discussion? We have Director Davis here, if you have any questions. Mayor Pro Tem Holloway.
So we had two respondents, and we had communication respondents of deficiencies resulting in this action.
Yes.
Got another issue though.
Good evening, Council. Mona Davis, Community Development Director. Yes, we received 2 respondents to the RFQ.
That wasn't the question. Question was, have the respondents been notified what their deficiencies were resulting in the rescinding of the RFQ?
Not yet. I have been in contact with them to let them know that this is an ongoing process, but I have not notified them yet that we are rescinding the RFQ or we are proposing to rescind it.
All right, council members, I ask you to remember back how you felt when a sister municipality started asking for requests for proposals on a contract we already had with them and how you felt at that time. My understanding is we are talking to a third party in regards to this before we have even rescinded this RFQ and before we've informed the applicants why they are deficient, resulting in the rescinding of the RFQ. I'm looking at staff to keep us on the straight and narrow. We're politicians, so that means we're professional at none of this. You guys are professional at this. Keep us on the straight and narrow. Talking to a third applicant before we clear out the first action, in my opinion, is not proper. Okay, there's some exposure there. So I do ask that their communication is done with those applicants of what the deficiencies are and why we're rescinding, as well as that we are rescinding. But that I don't want them feeling the way we felt.
Should we hold off on rescinding the RFQ if I didn't understand this aspect of this, but should we hold off on?
No, we need to rescind this immediately if we're engaging with a third entity as a possible
That's what we're
rider
doing,
in this
right?
area.
Oh, Counselor Watton.
So let me take the lead on this because this has been kind of my passion. And we heard from the council that we deliberated on whether it would be an RFP or RFQ. And we went ahead and we issued an RFQ. We got 2 proposals back. We had a third respondent that wasn't in a position to, other than ask us some very good questions on how to frame this up. And the 2 that did come back, it left us with really nothing actionable because an RFQ is about qualifications and they were both qualified in different ways. One is a national firm that came back with a proposal that wasn't something suitable for moving forward with. And the other one hadn't really done any types of developments like we were asking for. So that was the inclusiveness or the reason why we were unable to identify either one as being sufficient in bringing the ideas forward. And what we as a council wanted was a project, and an RFQ is for qualifications. Are you an engineer? If you're an engineer, what kind of work have you done? That's really the purpose of the RFQ. And so by doing this, and we did seek other input, but we've made no commitment. And we're saying, this may not have been the right method for us. Let's go back and take a look. Let's take the feedback from the third respondent who wasn't applying as an RFQ because it wasn't their qualifications, but they raised some very good questions. And then we did talk to two other entities and we got their input on it, but that's simply all that we did. We made no commitment to them. It just helps to further understand what are the opportunities, what are the things that we should be taking into consideration, and is this even viable? Because at one point, we've been through the process, we were reminded that this has been looked at and it wasn't viable, but we've had other outside people of interest with this expertise saying this is the kind of thing that we face every day in developing affordable housing. So it was more of a fact-finding mission beyond just saying no to the RFQ. What we're asking today is, because we didn't quite land where we all talked about as a council, that let's take another look with more information and move forward from there.
So Councillor Johnson, you had your hand up, and then Councillor Benson.
Yeah, one of the things that I was expecting that I thought had come out of our last CD meeting was that we were going to formally find that they had not met the qualifications as a council such that we could provide that response to them. And then as a separate action would be to rescind the RFQ and then take it back. But I feel like we're missing a part where we have some sort of formal way of saying that they did not meet the minimums that we were looking for the RFQ. And I'm wondering, is that something that the council should do? Is it something we need to do before we rescind the RFQ?
City Attorney Burke?
Yeah.
I think a cleaner way may, in the RFQ, there was language under section 9 disclaimers to make no selection if deemed in the best interests of the city. And that might be a cleaner way to rescind the RFQ.
So it sounds like we might need to do a slightly different motion than what is currently on the table, which would be to not just directly rescind the RFQ, but would be to add in some language saying that none of the applicants have been selected or something like that.
Correct.
Okay. Let me think about wording for a second. We could have other discussion first.
Councillor Benson.
So then, do I understand you correctly? The idea is, it sounded kind of like what you were saying was we asked for an RFQ, but we didn't really want an RFQ. What we really wanted was an RFP. And that's the way it sounded like you were describing it. Am I understanding that? Are you ignoring me?
No, I'm normally. Point of clarification, normally we're not supposed to have a banter back and forth,
Right.
So I'm just trying to.
Mayor, could you ask him? 'Cause
Councillor Watton, do you have a response to that? Let's go to Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. No, I think it's a regrouping of where we're at, that we didn't see the outcome as we had stated in the RFQ. And that's kind of a conceptual as to what we could achieve with partnering with whomever applies. And I would take it one step further, and those that did respond, I would like for us to make sure that they're included in a fair process and reach out to them and say, okay, we've redefined it and we'd love to have you under these terms, continue the discussion, because that's really what it is. Whether it's an RFQ or an RFP that we move forward with, I don't want to ignore the work that they've already done, but they were very distinctly different proposals that neither of them quite met what we had talked about.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Holloway.
Okay, so I agree with rescinding the RFQ. You're kind of missing the point. If let's say I put an RFQ out for sewer wastewater engineer. Put the RFQ out. I get respondents. Before I disposition that, I go talk to a third-party engineering firm who I'm seeking, at that stage, are giving advice of, these are the things you ought to be looking for in RFQ. That is only fine if they never submit a response to a qualification. Okay, you have to disposition the RFQ before you go get that third-party advice and discussion. We didn't do that in this case. This is kind of a weird duck as far as RFQs go. Let's all admit that. But we still should be following the process and the rigor there, that we disposition the RFQ before we start opening the conversations again to other than the applicants on the matter at hand. It's just good hygiene for these kind of things. So I want to throw the word of caution out there. Let's not do that. Because again, remember how we felt. I don't want the applicants feeling how we felt when we had a contract and somebody did an RFP outside of our contract. Okay, and I'm not going to mention names because I want to, because I want to be nice and happy together.
Counselor Johnson?
So two things. First of all, so we did have an extensive discussion all those months ago, and we talked about RFQ versus RFP. And we had reasons for ending up on the RFQ, one of which was that a request for proposals needs to have certain specifics in mind for what it is that we're looking for, where past staff had said that that would take many months to write up, and that we would need to have a better idea of what it is we're looking for at that site. And I am curious if we're really that much further along in that process to be at the level of asking for a proposal. There was also some argument, though how exactly this works is now a little fuzzy because that was a while ago, but that an RFP could be a little bit more of a step that kind of, I'm going to use the wrong verbiage here, but it kind of locks us into the agreement to a greater extent than an RFQ does. And so it would give us a little bit less wiggle room if we accepted a proposal. And I'm probably misremembering the details on how that worked, but I remember there was something to that effect. And then one other thing, move to include the words after, well, I guess it would be, right before the word rescind, add the words dismiss all responses to the RFQ and.
All responses to what?
Dismiss all responses to the RFQ and then the rest of the motion would, I believe, stay the same. Yeah. And then after the and would then be what we had before, which is rescind the RFQ and reevaluate the affordable housing process. Do we need to say reject or is dismiss okay?
Point of order. Does it
State your point.
require a second?
Does it what?
The amendment require a second?
Well, we're still working on.
Just
Amendment.
checking the legalese here to make sure I said it correctly.
Sorry, I'm just double checking something.
57.
Whichever word she picks, second.
Okay.
I know it sounds a little harsh, but I would recommend the word reject.
Oh, I was trying to avoid that. Okay, fine. Do you want me to move to amend my amendment?
Well, he wasn't second.
Okay, it wasn't seconded. Okay.
So read the motion that you're posing.
Okay, then that one died for lack of a second. So instead, I'm going to move to add the the words reject all responses to the RFQ and reevaluate the affordable housing process.
Second again.
It's been moved by Councilor Johnson, second by Mayor Pro Tem Holloway to reject all responses and reevaluate the affordable housing process, correct?
Technically, I said all responses to the RFQ. I don't know if that matters, the to the RFQ.
Okay.
Yes,
That's what I had written down.
Okay.
Reject all responses to the RFQ and.
Perfect.
thank you.
Okay. Any discussion? Councilor Christensen?
So if we go ahead and vote in favor of this, would we then also have to do a secondary motion in order to close out the RFP process as well?
RFQ.
RFQ? Or
No,
would
this
just
was always my-
rejecting these be sufficient?
That effectively closes it when you reject them.
Councilor Johnson?
Just to be clear, my motion was to add those words before the rest of the motion as it stood, which was, so the whole motion would now be dismiss all responses to the RFQ and rescind the RFQ and reevaluate the affordable housing procose.
Thank you for reading the whole thing.
Reject.
Where the word
Reject.
rejecto?
I'm sorry, yes, reject, sorry. Not dismiss. Change it right here.
Did you get it?
Reject all response to the RFQ and rescind the RFQ and reevaluate the affordable housing process.
Any other discussion? Okay. Going on this amended motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And the motion is amended and has passed.
Only the amendment passed.
Only amendment passed. Going back to the original motion, which is moved to rescind the RFQ and reevaluate the affordable housing process. We're going to vote on that. Councilor Watton?
Just to respond to Mayor Pro Tem Holloway's concern. We had legal counsel present in our meetings when we discussed and reviewed the RFQ. We also had the city administrator. We had a new director at that time present with us. And it was discussed how we move forward with dismissing, and at the same time, it was brought up that there's some other organizations, but at no time were we dissing the applicants other than the fact that it wasn't very clear. And if I'm misstating anything that legal counsel would like to interject, or if I'm missing any facts, but there was some changes of seats, if you will, on the professional side. And we, the volunteers on the committee doing the deducing, we were trying to be fair in how we proceeded with that so as to not shorten anybody in the process. But it became apparent that we really didn't have a recommendation to move forward with either one of the applicants, and that further work by the volunteers and some other outside experts was worthwhile. We're not done with the process, and this is the beginning of the process. It's kind of an iteration. And I think the other thing is we all know that this is a unique piece of property. It's 28 acres and it's 0.99 acres that we're looking at developing, and there's a number of constraints to it, and we have a lot to understand, including a lift station that needs to be brought in. But the thing is, it's possible, and we're gonna see what we can do. And the people we did have conversations with, those were encouraging conversations. So back to the drawing board.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So according to our Robert's rules, first, we don't need to go back and approve the original motion because it has been amended. We have approved the final motion with amendment. Right.
Point of order.
Councilor
we've-
Johnson?
done the Jurassic Parliament many times. You have to vote on the baby dinosaur and then you vote on the big dinosaur.
You understand the dinosaurs?
So I'm sorry, I thought you needed a motion to amend
Mhm.
the,
That's what I got too.
Right.
So we voted on the amendment.
We voted on the amendment. Now we need to vote on the overall agenda bill.
Right.
oh, on the, yes, okay.
Yes. Okay, sorry, Mayor, if I misunderstood. I thought you were trying to skip a vote there.
No, I'm not trying to skip a
Okay,
vote.
my apologies, Mayor.
This is why I love this job.
Dinosaurs?
Gates.
Yeah, we already did.
You made a
I'm sorry,
motion?
maybe I'm very confused here. I'm sorry, can you explain to me what's going on? I am clearly missing
So we're
something.
going back to the first.
So you moved to amend the motion that
And-
was in the packet.
And we voted on that.
Reject
vote.
all responses
Yeah.
to the RFQ, rescind the RFQ, and reevaluate the affordable housing process.
And then we voted on that.
Correct.
We voted on the amendment of the motion.
Yep.
Now we need to vote on the motion. Can we vote on the motion, please?
So you approved the amendment. Now you need to vote on the actual
Yes.
motion.
So,
Right.
yeah, we have a motion on the table now. I don't need to
Yes.
make another motion, right?
No,
Okay,
just say aye or nay. It's-
Okay, going back for the original motion, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed, nay? Right, that passes.
Down.
Thank you. Now it's clarified. Moving on to AB 25-078 River Trail Northwest of Sandy Cove Construction. Counselor Benson, would you please read the introduction and motion?
Yes. This agenda bill seeks approval to award the construction contract to Accord Contractors for the River Trail Northwest of Sandy Cove project. Move to approve resolution 1724 awarding the construction contract to Accord Contractors for River Trail Northwest of Sandy Cove project.
Second.
Been moved by Counselor Benson, second by Counselor Christensen. Is there any public comment regarding this item? Seeing none, we have our CIP manager, Dylan Gamble, is here to answer any questions.
We had fun in Public Works.
So Counselor, do you have any discussion on this item or any questions for Dylan Gamble?
No.
Chair, would you like lead off?
Do you want to just tell us, just give us a quick overview of which project this is that we're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the River Trail project. It's in the CIP called Northwest of Sandy Cove. It originally would have been called Phase 1. So if you're familiar with the CIP going back a few years. The effort here is to do a non-paved, softer surface trail that links the Kimball Creek output area to the historic downtown. Many of you know that we are working towards trying to connect that trail to Sandy Cove. This project does not make that link, unfortunately, but it does get us much closer to that effort, and does span quite a good amount of linear feet to get us there. And I'm hoping to compound it with other projects, including Sandy Cove, further on to make all those final connections. But yeah, that's roughly the area.
Any other discussion or comments? Counselor Christensen?
Always one. I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity. Councilmember Cotton and Johnson and I all did a walking tour with Parks and Public Works and Mr. Gamble, as well as the Parks and Public Works Director as well. And it was really helpful to be out there and be able to ask all the questions. And I think it'll be a really great project going forward. It'll be a great spot for folks to be able to go and take some walks, and you can easily picture having, their kids run around in a safe place that's out there enjoying some additional green space. So thank you.
Okay, move on to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? And the motion passes unanimously for AB 25-078 River Trail Northwest of Sandy Cove Construction. Thank you. Second item is AB 25-079 BP Pump Station Capacity Study. Councilor Benson, would you please read the introduction and motion?
The business park BP lift station is currently operating at maximum capacity. With the hospital expansion due to be completed in fall of 2026, the BP lift station may require capacity upgrades. The study is the first step to determining whether those upgrades are necessary, and if so, what they may be. Move to award an engineering contract with RH2 for the BP pump station capacity improvements.
Second.
So it's been moved by Councilor Benson, second by Mayor Pro Tem Holloway. Is there any comment regarding this item? Public comment?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 2 minutes for public comment for this item per person. So we could start. Please state your name and who you're with. You're with the hospital.
I can barely hear you, but I'm Dick Bratton. I'm the owner rep for the hospital,
Great.
Snoqualmie Valley Health. And the project under discussion is the medical office building expansion project. So I'll make this brief. We've been working with the city over the past several months, if not over a year, actually, through the permitting process of various stages of the project. We've developed a very close and positive relationship with the staff at the city. It's very much appreciated the amount of time and effort and coordination and confidence that we've developed with your team. So having said that, through the course of project discovery, it was determined that the hospital is going to contribute a certain amount of volume of stormwater through your infrastructure system of stormwater management. It was determined that the pump station for the hospital has adequate capacity to move that stormwater up to the business park pump station, which was identified to be at or about nearly capacity to control that waste and stormwater to your wastewater treatment plant. So we were informed a couple of weeks ago and issued Exhibit A, which you all have, that is the scope of work to develop or to initiate a study to determine the options for.
Can we give them some extra time?
So technically speaking, you'd have to make a motion to suspend the rules and state the.
So moved.
Second.
How much time would you like to give him?
5 minutes.
Okay, yep.
Is
Did
all
we
in-
vote?
Second.
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
So it was moved by Councilor Benson
Second.
and was seconded by Councilor Watton to extend the time by 5 minutes. Thank you.
I'm
Councilor
hearing
Johnson?
time is of the essence.
All in favor, say aye.
Sorry.
Aye.
You like to hear that, don't you?
Just a point of order for a little tiny thing.
Okay,
I think that the motion also had to suspend the rules. Am I right?
Suspend the rules and add 5 minutes to this gentleman's time.
and we had motions. So we're suspending the rules and adding 5 minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed,
Aye.
nay? Okay, it's unanimous, and so you have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Continue.
Oh, I see. I've got a clock. Cool. I'm in the 8th inning. So to cut to the chase, thank you for the reminder of time. I was not aware. We've been given the opportunity to contribute to this study. That being a deposit of $98,000 for a certain scope of work. So what we would like to address with the city is the opportunity to reduce that scope of work, which was indicated to be evaluating 3 possible options for increasing the capacity at the business park lift station. We believe, and through my experience and the experience of CPL, who is our civil engineer on the project, that there's one viable solution and two probably not so great solutions that would be more expensive and more time consuming. So the initial option, in our opinion, would be to really focus on that option one. Time is of the essence. We need that capacity increase at the business park pump station. At the same time, the hospital is opening the MOB project, which is November of 2026. So we need to have the study underway. We understand through our permit process that we have conditions to that permit that we will contribute to the cost of the engineering of the option and the construction of the option. But we are asking that we have the opportunity to discuss the scope of that option at the outset. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Good evening. My name is Renee Jensen and I am the CEO at the hospital. I wanted to just say, first of all, this is an enormously huge project and something that's going to have a huge impact on the Snoqualmie Valley, not just Snoqualmie City, but the Snoqualmie Valley as a whole. The hub project doesn't just bring healthcare, but it also brings community together with community spaces. And I think it will really improve the economy and many other great impacts for the city. Our project has two things right now that are really at risk. Number one is our budget, and number two is our time schedule. In order to get the hub up and going, we have to hire physicians now. So we actually are hiring physicians and surgeons and getting them on payroll before the hub even opens. Once we have the majority of the construction completed, our bonds are out for sale this week, and we'll be issuing $150 million plus in debt. And once the building is complete, that's over $1 million a month in our mortgage that we'll be paying. And so there's crucial amount of time at risk here. And so my request is just, this is a public hospital district. We're a municipality, just like the city. We don't have an endless budget and we don't have endless time. And so if we can just work together for a solution, that's good for both of us. Dick is proposing that we take a look at that scope of services, potentially use good industry knowledge to reel that back in and try to decrease the scope, which would also decrease the cost to us. And then it would also potentially reduce the amount of time with the proposed solutions that Dick is suggesting. So thank you for your consideration. We appreciate it.
Thank you. So any discussion? Councilor Benson?
Well, I was hoping that we could hear from Andrew about the
As well.
the proposal of potentially limiting the scope of that study.
Right. We'll have project engineer Andrew Vining be happy to answer questions regarding this.
Hi, I'm Andrew Vining, project engineer, Public Works. I've been working mostly on sewer projects since joining the city here, and I'm stepping in for Pat, who's leading as the project engineer on behalf of the city on these improvements. So as Dick had mentioned, we've been working for at least since the beginning of this year on evaluating utility capacity. We looked at water, we looked at wastewater treatment capacity, we looked at multiple lift station capacity. We've honed in on BP lift station is at capacity, and we need these improvements to support this development. And we've proposed this scope, and city staff are ready to move forward with it with consultants to begin the design process. But it'll need, we're recommending a deposit from the developer to support the budget impacts. Regarding the questions about the scope and honing in on that, this is a alternatives evaluation and a concept design. That's the scope. So bundled into that, what does it mean? We're getting survey work of the site. We're going to get a concept model. That means what's above ground, where are the boundary lines, what's below ground, what's the utilities that we have to avoid when we put in a new wet well. In my mind, that's design information. We're also going to be looking at alternatives. If we hit a roadblock, we need to have other alternatives on the table. So that could be adding a pump. That could be adding a larger force main that comes out of it. It could be, as we mentioned, putting in a new wet well. But in all the engineering projects we do, we start with preliminary concept design. We look at the data available, we gather data, and we look at the alternatives, and we get a recommended alternatives to move forward with. And I do feel confident. We have a consultant that we have demonstrated working under tight schedules and meeting those schedules. And we have contractors that have met those deadlines. This is not our first project that has an aggressive deadline. But with those projects, we've done alternatives evaluations on all of them. And that's what's in this scope and fee.
Councillor Watton?
I've got two questions, series of questions. First of all is, with 3 different scenarios, are those running concurrently, or is there a time lag, or is there, does it require additional time by doing 3?
No, it's one process. The alternatives evaluation is one process. We look at 3 alternatives at the same time, and in that process, we narrow down and build confidence in one of them. Which, in this case, with the data we have, we would like to make the wet well bigger, but we haven't surveyed exactly where those subground utilities are, where the critical areas on the site are, how deep are we digging, what are the soils. These are things that will be considered in an alternatives evaluation. And it's possible that adding a 3rd pump above ground could prevail. We have to trust this process and our consultant.
Mayor Pro Tem Hall.
My second follow-up question, thank you very much for the first, and that is, if the city were to select just one out of the 3 to do, and excuse me because I'm a banker and I think about risk, what is the risk of choosing one of the 3 options and focusing on that? And that's okay for you to think for a moment, because you didn't know I was going to ask you that.
Well, it's not a process that we would recommend. The risk would be, there's a number of things that come to mind, but not meeting city standards, meeting city needs, investing in a large project. This is the 3rd largest lift station in all of the city. And having to redo it in the near future, or having to spend additional costs on operations money. If it's not constructible, if there's something you don't see early on that process, you may go down the road with, a concept that isn't actually constructible in the field. If there's something in the way that's major, like an unknown utility. So these are, it's a recommended, like I said, every lift station project, we have done the alternatives evaluation.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Holloway, do you have a comment?
So, yeah, a couple of things. One, it doesn't have to be 3, it could be 2 alternatives, depending on what you preliminary find out, correct? It's not mandated 3.
That's correct.
Same thing on conceptual designs, it's up to 2. Could be 1 if we just say, if in the preliminary analysis says it's 1, okay? The other one, if, taking the hospital out of the picture, if an applicant for a development comes forward and says, I can do your design better, and we've had that, the gas station is one that comes way back in the whatever, great. If the applicant is then willing to put a bond up for any deficiencies of that decision from then on. Right now, I hold staff accountable and I hold our engineer accountable for doing this appropriately. If the applicant wants to take on that responsibility, they have to take on the responsibility of bond if there are any issues thereof. I'm not sure we want to get into that. That's kind of a messy arrangement and everything else. But I think the main concerns really is time for you guys. So my follow-on question though, right now it says, one, we're gonna get a preliminary, we're gonna review in November. What would be the impact if we were to, and that this whole thing would be done December 31? What would be the impact if we said this thing needs to be done December 1?
You're looking at a date in that proposal, right? And I believe I commented on this when I reviewed it with the consultant to move that date forward.
Right now, it's
I-
December 31. What did they agree to move it forward?
They did not agree. That was too aggressive of a schedule. We worked it backwards. This is the steps that it's data collection. So you need time to collect data starting, we get this contract in place this month. We want at least a month of data, and then they process it and we work through that. We will push them, our staff will push them to be more aggressive than that. But with the not having a contract in place, they weren't comfortable moving that date forward.
Okay, I'll give you an old bowling phrase. How long does it take an engineer to do a design? How long do you give them? So please have them do serious consideration moving that forward. If we're having a review of the alternatives, and I forget the phraseology, was actually more than alternatives there in mid-November. Sounds like we're pretty close. Can we do it by December 1? Okay. I think the main concern I'm hearing is schedule. But I don't want to short circuit the process to do that schedule because I'll do something wrong. Let's do the alternatives. Let's have those accountable to those alternatives do their work, but we just got to have some pressure on it.
Mayor,
Noted, and I think my comment was, I asked them to move it to October 31st, and
There you go. Go for it.
that was too aggressive. So
Maybe December
1st,
1, let's see what we can get.
Wait, Councilor Cotton?
yes, thank you, Mayor. I know when Patrick Fry presented this to Parks and Public Works, that it was quite in depth as far as the some of the testing and things that would be pursued, and as Mr. Vining has related, also with the everything from sizing up the scene. I agree. We don't want to put our all our eggs in one basket. Perhaps just because Dick wants us to do a wet well doesn't mean that he's the most qualified person to be able to tell us that, and that we definitely want to know what all viable options are, and not minimize our scope of investigation, because if we get into, as Mr. Vining said, pursuing one option that there's a impediment in the way of that, then we have to revert to Plan B. Well, that's going to take longer. So doing them all at one time and seeing which seems like the most viable alternatives. My understanding about this agenda bill is that, or this contract also includes, isn't it like a completing up to like 30% design? And by doing that and having all of these things in place, it actually does save money over time. So I don't think we should limit our scope and tie our hands in case we have to do, anything more. And obviously our Parks and Public Works and our Economic Development departments are well aware that time is of the essence. And I think that these are things that have been discussed all the way along. And I'm not sure, how people are, kind of receiving that or hearing that, but it's definitely something everybody is aware of, and really want to work together to, make sure that this project goes forward, and in a timely manner. And I think that the city is doing all that it can to ensure that that occurs. So I really hope that we don't hamstring ourselves by restricting the scope of what we're doing. We need to do our due diligence.
Thank you. Thanks, Con. So we also have Winter Davis, our Community Development Director, who's been also working on this project. And go ahead.
Yes, and I just wanted for the record to clarify that I know that Mike Chambliss sent an email requesting the deposit, but I don't actually know if we followed up with a formal invoice. So they have not received a formal invoice for this work yet.
But I think we would need the deposit before we can sign the agreement with RH2.
Yes, that was made clear in the memo from Mike Chambliss.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Johnson?
Did I read this correctly, that this lift station also serves the entire of the SR2 development?
Mhm.
So if we went down one path and that one ended up not necessarily being totally viable, or it would cost significantly more than one of the other options we didn't follow, et cetera, et cetera. What are the possible risks to all those residents in SR2? What would be the impact on them?
Sounds more of an engineering question.
I guess to start, yes, that's correct that it's the third largest lift station. It's located up on Douglas Street, kind of near the ice skating rink. It serves all of SR2. Really, the risk, the city is the owner and the operator of the utility. We have a permit, an NPDES permit that makes sure that we operate it correctly and we don't, I call operation don't spill the poo. Don't, keep everything in the pipes. So, and we take that job seriously so that we have to implement that permit correctly. So the risk is that, we would get violations if we had exceedances. If our pump fails, we're going to be scrambling to get a backup pump out there mobilized, and that costs money.
But like a resident, sorry, Mayor.
Councilor Johnson?
Yeah, but would residents stop receiving the services? Okay,
Mayor,
Mayor Pro Tem
stuff still flows the right way.
point of clarification, okay? Pump station has 2 pumps, 2 wet wells. They are sized at present to handle, each one is sized at present to handle the capacity of SR2. That is so we can do maintenance on, if we have to do maintenance or replace a pump, we can take it out and do it, and the other pump remains in and goes. As well as we can pull a pump, or mobile, it's not mobile, but we can pull another pump from somewhere and bring it in. So there's no immediate risk of loss of service. Okay, you do have 52 ERUs coming, new service requirement coming from the medical business park coming in. The issue is you need to look at the cycle time on those pumps and how long those pumps remain on when they cycle, because there's a lifetime to those pumps, as well as whether the piping can handle that additional flow that you're going to put in. That's the metrics you want to put in and see. Okay. It may be a matter of, like you said, put another wet well and you just increase the on time per cycle of those pumps, but that will shorten their lifespan. What that is, let's do the analysis and see whether that's the appropriate thing, or to put a third pump in. Don't know. Do the analysis, find out.
Councilor Johnson?
Okay, so basically, all the things are supposed to flow a certain direction are going to continue flowing that direction.
Or we make them flow the other direction they don't want to go. Yes.
Okay.
That's the benefit of sewer. It's out of sight, out of mind, but we are maintaining and operating it, and it will flow downhill and we will pump it uphill and get it to our treatment plant.
Right.
And there is backups in place. One thing that's always complex with these systems, we just came off of one, is that it's an online facility. So if we have to replace the wet well, part of the project will be providing service to pump around whatever you're improving, and there's a cost to that. It's often 10 to 20% of the capital improvements. So,
Any other Discussion? Counselor Benson?
Yeah, I just want to make it clear, we're all very much supportive of this project. We just have to make sure that that we do it properly. We understand the importance of the hospital to the valley, and we're grateful that it's in our city. But we do have to make sure that our sewage system is functioning properly. And as we're exceeding capacity, we gotta do it right. And I think, well, I know from my perspective, we have to make sure that we do it the way our Parks and Public Works team does these things, because they're very particular about how they do that. And that's why we don't have failures and we don't spill the poop, which is what we want to continue doing. That's all I got to say on that.
Counselor Mayor Pro Tem Holloway?
So I'm concerned by the comments prior. We have not invoiced and therefore we have not received payment and therefore we are not doing this contract. Until that, if this is stalled because we have not done invoice, and I think we can trust the hospital, my question is, I don't want to be their stall. How do we, while that process goes on, an invoice and payment, how do we get this going?
I think we can generate an invoice pretty quickly, so I could do that first thing in the morning.
Okay.
And then we'll sign it afterwards, so we can approve it tonight.
Okay. Well,
With the
again,
condition that the payment is received.
I'm hearing he's got a clock ticking and I just want to.
Right. Any further comments?
In addition to that, Dylan has said that he's going to, I'm sorry, Andrew has said that he can push forward on getting that going more quickly, getting it done December 1st, potentially instead of December 31st, to speed that up.
I heard October.
You'll work on expediting it. He's not guaranteeing what month or what day.
Yeah, that's.
Thank you. Okay, so moving to a vote. All those that approve, say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? The motion passes unanimously for AB 25-079 Pump Station Capacity Study. Is there any further report from Parks and Public Works Committee?
I don't believe so, no.
Great.
Come on.
Move on, Finance Administration Committee Report 25-081, Resolution authorizing a 0.1% sales and use tax for criminal justice purposes. Member Pro Tem Holloway, would you please read the introduction and motion?
Okay, we'll get to it. During the 2025 legislative session, the Washington State Legislature enacted ESBH 2015 to provide qualified cities, towns, and counties the ability to authorize a new local option sales and use tax of 0.1% for criminal justice purposes. The intent of this resolution, after careful considering the financial needs of the Snoqualmie Police Department and the criminal justice in general, which includes programs and or responses that have a positive effect on the criminal justice system, such as a provision of adequate public defense or homeless and mental health services, is to authorize 0.1% sales and use tax pursuant to section 2001, chapter 30 laws of Washington, and certify the city of Snoqualmie meets all the requirements of proposed tax. Promotion. Move to approve resolution 1723, authorizing a 0.1% sales and use tax for criminal justice purposes pursuant to section 2021, chapter 350, law of Washington, 2025.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem Holloway, seconded by Councilmember Christensen. Is there any public comment regarding this item? Seeing none. Mayor Pro Tem Holloway?
Okay, so in F&A, we had discussion of, this is a two-step process. One is to submit the information to qualify, and then the second one is to actually enact the tax. Just from my own standing, I have no problem going and submitting for qualification. I would like further information of the use of the tax once it occurs before I authorize the tax. So I move to limit this to submit for qualification with subsequent action for tax. May I have a second?
Second.
Been moved by Mayor Pro Tem Holloway, second by Councilor Benson, to limit it to only submitting for the
Do the qualification,
qualifications.
and the actual enactment of the tax is a separate action.
Okay,
I have no doubt that we can justify it. I just want that on paper to, when my older brother says I'm a taxing politician, I can say it for reasons.
Councilor Johnson.
Excuse me. I believe that staff may be able to give us that information tonight. So in two actions for tonight, or would you like the second action to go back to F&A to have further discussion, then bring back the second action in the future?
I'd like to get to bed tonight, so I'd say hey, separate the actions out. Let's have that discussion of use of that tax money in F&A and bring it back next time. And the qualifications, may take, I assume it takes more than 2 weeks.
I'm not sure it did.
We were pretty close.
Chief Aracy, to answer your question, I can submit as early as probably tomorrow. What their review process is, when I spoke with CJTC today, they're receiving everything and they are actively reviewing them prior to the portal being open. So the portal itself, where we would log in on their website, has not been opened yet, but they are already receiving applications for this. And we've already gathered the majority of the information. I can finish putting it together and send it in.
Yeah, but we don't know what their flow is.
I don't know what their flow is. I don't think it's a lot, or like it's a heavy lift right now, based on the conversation I had with her today, but she didn't tell me like, oh, you would be number 30 in the queue.
Councilor Watton.
I have a question as far as, is there a time limit or there is a cap on the amount of money that cities can tap into that give us some sense of urgency of dealing with this right now? Because I'll tell you, I'm not really comfortable until I have a lot more information. And this follows on the heels of King County that's already passed this, and it's October 1st that they implement on our citizens a 0.1% sales tax. So, we're just doubling down on it. And that's a bit of a concern, especially with affordability becoming an issue. And this came to the legislature through King County because they are $70 million short, and 60 million of it's dedicated to just public safety. And so they go from 70 million to now all of a sudden having an overage of with the sales tax of $95 million, 25 million, and none of it's really specified. If you look at the legislation, it's pretty broad. So I've got a lot more information that I need to feel comfortable with on this. And this could be the first step. And I do agree with taking the first step, but I'm not all in on just for the sake of increasing taxes, whether we pay it or visitors pay it. So that's kind of my concern. And I guess coming back to my question, and that is there a time limit or time constraints that we need to be mindful of as we work through this?
Yes, there are time constraints. I believe one of those time constraints is through 2028. We have to potentially have this tax adopted by that timeframe in order for us to kind of potentially utilize this revenue source that's available to us currently right now. So that is the timeframe that we're looking at least trying to get this done fairly quickly in relation to maybe some other cities and counties, for example. But that's one deadline to consider. The other kind of thing to note as well is that CJTC does have 45 days in which they have to review and then return their answer back to us about whether if there's any deficiencies or not in the application that we've submitted. So that is the time frame in which they have in which to provide us with comment back.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you have information on what it could be applied to, but it sounds like you want to wait until the next F&A meeting. or after this, after qualifications are approved. Is that correct?
Well, we have what it could be applied to. The question is, what are we going to apply it to for the city of Snoqualmie? Let's list that out and what, is it 0.1% or is it 0.7 of a or 7/100ths of, let me go to the other way, 7/100ths of a percent? I don't think we'll have a hard time justifying the 10%. We can have a discussion from there, but at least then I know what I'm asking the citizens to accept the additional tax for.
So just to note, we do have a pretty extensive presentation, I think overall, to try to get to the answer that you're seeking. It is a compilation of what we presented at the FNA committee plus additional material. I don't know if that's useful to council tonight or if it's better addressed in FNA, but we are here tonight to present as well if council desires that.
Councilor Johnson?
I thought that I had perceived a general desire to take this to FNA. I know we didn't vote on it, but that's what I feel like I'm perceiving here. And that'll give staff just a little more time to really, dot all the i's, cross the t's, and really bring us something that we feel like if a citizen says, all you're doing is just raising taxes and finding new things to spend it on, right? That we have a really solid response to that. So and also it doesn't sound like we need to pass this tonight or else we miss out on this opportunity. So I'd be fine with taking that second part to FNA and then bringing it back again after some more consideration. But otherwise, let's go ahead and at least submit the paperwork so that we can get the ball rolling to see if we qualify.
Councilor Christensen?
I'm agreeable to sending it back to FNA as well and getting the additional information that's requested by council members.
Any other discussion? Councilor Johnson?
Just for the record, I think that I could come up with a list of not new spending that we would be spending this on. So I am very confident, but let's make sure that we've got all those answers for sure.
Just as a point of clarification, the deadline is not the end of 2028, it's June 2028. So the tax can be imposed by councilmatic action through June of 2028.
We'll
And
do
it is-
something before then.
And it is stackable, as the council member suggested. King County has recently approved a 0.1% public safety enhancement sales tax. As a result, if council were to approve this one as well, the residents and businesses in this community would be foreseeing a 0.2% increase in their sales tax rate within a year. So just a note.
Is this available to the state also?
No.
I didn't want a third one on there.
So we
Sorry,
Councilor Johnson?
one more question. I thought that I heard someone mention, maybe it was one of our council members, that King County had already imposed this tax, but does that go to our public safety response here?
No, they have outlined.
So just because if our residents are paying that tax that's assessed by King County, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's being spent on our police department.
Correct.
Councilor Watton?
Just point of clarification, that would also include the courts, the jails, wherever King County decides to spend the money. So it does, in a way, help us a little bit if it buys more prosecutors, defenders, court folks to
Yeah, but
process.
we pay for those on our behalf.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, but King County does as well. So, it's a shared thing.
On a felony level, it would have. So yes, you're right. On a felony level, it could, if they apply it to to the prosecutors there. As far as any defense attorneys, that's going to be solely on us, which is a big portion of what we're talking about here. Especially after running a lot of numbers over the last several days and getting more, it is a huge, substantial increase on our city of what we're looking at here.
Okay. Any other comments? So we have an amendment to split the motion to go towards qualifications only at this point, and then bringing information back to FNA about how we would use it. So moving to a vote on, I guess, splitting it into two pieces. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And so that is approved. And going back to the original motion, authorizing the 1/10 to 1%.
Authorize the submittal for qualification.
It was moved to approve Resolution 1723, authorizing 1/10 of 1% and use tax for criminal justice purposes.
Point of order.
That was the original one.
That was the original, but we split it apart. Now it's just approving submittal for qualification.
Right. We just voted on that.
Correct. So the resolution goes away.
Right, so we voted to amend it, so now we're voting to approve it.
Right. So the final,
Well, let's make it clear. We're not approving the resolution because we're not enacting the tax.
right, we're
Saying
approving the qualifications.
Submit for qualifications.
Process.
So what we're
Right.
approving is submittal for qualifications.
Make it all on the same
We-
page.
We already modified it for that, right?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
We
Right.
killed that dinosaur.
All in favor of that? Say
Aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Councilor Cotton, did I hear you vote?
Not opposed.
Aye.
Okay. It's unanimous and it will be, we submit for qualification. Thank you.
Thank you.
Why don't I just talk the next one? Or
What?
Tina, you want to talk?
Yes, all right, so, good evening, Mayor and council members. So, last week at the FNA committee, we talked about the opioid abatement council and the proposed amendment. So, just to recap, the Washington State Attorney's General Office engaged in litigation against several pharmaceutical companies that were responsible for opioid addiction issues in the country. The state AG's office negotiated several settlements with different pharmaceutical companies. Snoqualmie is participating in those settlements and receiving settlement funds. Those can be spent on issues related to opioid addiction, such as, addiction services, programs for youth to prevent addiction in the future, or other abatement or programs related to opioid addiction. As a part of this settlement that the state AG's office negotiated, each county has to create what's called an opioid abatement council. So there's the King County Opioid Abatement Council, and one of the primary purposes of that opioid abatement council is to monitor, to make sure that every jurisdiction that receives money spends the money in compliance with the settlement. So we have to spend it on something related to opioid addiction. We can't go out and buy a Ferrari with it, for example. Not that we would ever do that. As a part of being a part of the King County Opioid Abatement Council, we've signed an agreement to be a part of that council. There's a proposed amendment that King County Opioid Abatement Council put out a few months ago, and it changed the language regarding the 10% fee that we're putting in. So as a part of that administrative monitoring to make sure we and other jurisdictions are in compliance, it's a 10% fee. There was a question at the FNA about why is King County changing the language? So the change is that we contribute 10%. If right now, some of the payments from these settlements are larger than they will be in the future. Some of them are kind of like on an annuity schedule where some of the payments are larger now and they might trail off and be lower, say in 2035. Also, some of the pharmaceutical settlements have resulted in some being large lump sum payments. So we'd get one large lump sum and then in the future, there are no payments. King County Opioid Abatement Council is concerned that if they get the 10% now, it's larger. And then say in 10 years, they're going to get a very small 10% because those settlement payments will be smaller. So the proposed change would be that right now, if the actual costs of this council and the administrative costs is less than what we pay in. So for example, if we pay $1,000 in, but they only need to utilize, say, $800 of it, next year we would get a $200 reduction because there was $200 that they didn't use. Their proposed change is that they would keep that $200 and the 10% would continue. Some cities have raised concerns that this is, resulting in King County Opioid Abatement Council having money for some time that's not available to people that are suffering currently from opioid addiction. And there's been requests from several municipalities to look at changing this language so that it can be more equitable, so that we can get as much money out there to help people who are addicted and prevent addiction. I do have an update. The King County Opioid Abatement Council has paused on this amendment, and they are in discussions with the cities that raised concerns. And so I think at this point, the recommendation would be that Snoqualmie could participate in those discussions with the King County Opioid Abatement Council. And my recommendation would be to motion to postpone discussions on this to a future finance and F&A committee until we receive a future proposed amendment from the King County Opioid Abatement Council.
So
So,
moved. Nope.
Move to remand this to F&A, time to be determined. And come back later.
Second?
It's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem Holloway and seconded by Councilor Watton. Councilor Vincent?
Did they give any kind of explanation as to why they came up with the idea that they would just keep the money that wasn't used?
I think their concern is, for example, let's say there's $100,000 lump sum settlement now, they would get 10% of that. So they would get, $10,000. And then in the future, you're not getting $10,000 a year because our payments will decrease. And same with other cities, the payments decrease in the future. And so they're concerned that their administrative costs, maybe come 2030, 2035 will be higher than the 10% they're collecting from us and other cities.
Okay. So the
Seems like a planning problem. Like maybe they should recognize that. It sounds like they recognize it now, and that's their opportunity to plan for that, right?
I think so, but some cities are concerned about, I know one city voiced, a desire to have an accounting of what money goes in the King County Opioid Abatement Council and how it's being spent. So it's an opportunity for us to be a part of those discussions.
Okay, any other discussion? So moving to,
Okay. Want to vote on it?
okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay?
Aye.
And motion passes. Next item is mayor's report. So first of all, we'd like to introduce a new employee we have sitting right here. His name is Robert Thrall, and he is our new deputy city clerk. He's been with us probably like 3 weeks now.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor, and I'm happy to be here. Just starting my 4th week. I
Nice.
think I've met everybody on council now. So, thank you.
Thank you. We're happy to have you. Couple updates. We have the state auditors audits. They're currently auditing City of Snoqualmie for the 2022 and 2023 fiscal years. And these are expected to be done this fall. And then following this audit, they will turn around and turn their attention to the 2024 fiscal year. And 2024 represents an impressive milestone in that it will be the first year that our new and modern accounting software system, Unis, served officially as a system of record. And the city is committed to completing these 3 audits in 1 year. And we appreciate the city's accounting division and the state auditor for undertaking the significant effort to complete all 3 audits in a year. The PSRC Growth Management Policy Board recommended conditional certification for Snoqualmie's comprehensive plan. This recommendation will go to the Transportation Policy Board and Executive Board later in September. And the growth targets, if you remember, we have requested to reduce them from 1,500 housing units to 719, should be ratified by King County on October 22nd. And PSRC's conditional certification will allow the city to qualify for transportation grants this fall. And it will give us some additional time to update buildable lands analysis and zoning map next year. And so there's a couple additional factors that'll happen this fall in order to get this approved. WashDOT update, State Route 18 is expected to be completed later this fall, but there's still some work remaining, so they're going to have a closure actually starting tonight on, I believe, westbound I-90. And later this fall, we'll have additional closures for State Route 18 paving between Issaquah Hobart Road and I-90, and then upcoming lane and ramp closures for the final paving for the diverging diamond. So it'll be done later this fall, which is great. September marks National Preparedness Month, and the city of Snoqualmie is urging all residents and businesses to take proactive steps to prepare for emergencies and disasters. So check out the city's website for more information on staying informed, making a plan, and building a kit. And finally, it's not too late to sign up for In-Person City Academy, which is a 6-week program that offers participants a behind-the-scenes view of city operations. With that, we'll move on to liaison positions, which was added to the agenda by Mayor Pro Tem Holloway, and then we'll move on after that to any committee, commission liaison reports.
Okay. So this is not proposing any action other than potential engagement. We make that clear up front. But there is an organization out there called Snoqualmie Valley Aquatic Collaborative or Collaboration. I think we should consider, we've been at least asked, I believe formally and also informally as part of public comment at some stage to participate. And as of yet, we have not participated with them. I think it's probably best, it's to our own benefit. If nothing comes of it, great, but at least then we're still dealing with the same set of facts and opinions and whatever. So let's, I would like to hear your feedback over the next 2 weeks along those lines. If things come to fruition, I would like to eventually propose some council liaison positions to that entity. Okay, but just food for thought this week, action maybe in 2 weeks. Give me your feedback over the next 2 weeks. Okay. That's it for now.
Okay, do we have any committee liaison reports?
SCA is meeting this week in Mercer Island if anybody else would like to attend as well. One of the topics of discussion will be the King County potential levy lid lift that would be coming, as well as separately the Washington State Supreme Court, and I know we've talked about it a couple times, has proposed, and required case limits for public defenders. They're going to be dropping significantly, which could affect not only obviously how many cases our public defenders can take on, but just with the lack of general practitioners, it can make it very difficult in order to be able to prosecute and also provide public defender for folks that are our residents. There is going to be discussion of whether or not to send out a draft letter. If so, I'll be bringing it back over the next month for folks to review and weigh in on and be able to provide that information back. But those are the 2 big items coming up this week. Great. If you have any questions or want any more information, let me know. Happy to chat.
Councilor Watton?
I do have one, and that is, there is going to be a joint EDC meeting on September 17th at 8 a.m. over at Meadowbrook between the cities of Snoqualmie and North Bend. So anyway, if you're interested, come join us.
Thank you. Any other committee liaison reports? All righty. You can check in the packet for the August department reports. And we'll move on to executive session.
I think we're like 15 minutes.
Okay. So next we have an executive session pursuant to RCW 42.30.1101I to discuss with legal counsel representing agency matters relating to potential litigation, lasting approximately 15 minutes. Attending will include City Attorney Dina Burke, Finance Director Drew Batey, Interim Chief Horaci. And with that, no action is anticipated following conclusion of the executive session, and recording of the meeting will cease at this time. Council will adjourn directly from the executive session and not return to open session. The city clerk will be informed of all the concluding time, which will be reflected in the meeting minutes. And with that, we will go ahead and we're going to stay in this room for the executive session. So this will be lasting 15 minutes. We'll get 5 minutes to clear, so we'll be done by 8:45. Thank you.
So